I am the magnificent and talented Salvador Dali.
And I'm the talented and very famous artist, Andy Warhol. Do you like my hair? It's pretty surreal, man.
Splendiferous.
Hey, Sal, I can't wait to open our new museum.
Me too, Andy. Did you read that cool book by Wells, Butler, and Koch entitled Interpretive Planning for Museums?
Yeah, and I wanted to talk about the most important points so we can create a plan for our own museum. The author said that museums used to develop without a plan. The need for planning arose to improve museums and created a need and purpose for writing this book.
Museums have evolved from institutions that focus on transmitting information to environments that support learning. This brought about the need to understand visitors and plan for interpretation and learning.
Hey Sal, have you done your research on interpretive planning?
Yes, the authors defined it as a deliberate and systematic process for thinking about, deciding on, and recording in a written format or plan educational and interpretive initiatives for the purpose of facilitating meaningful and effective experiences for visitors, learning institutions, and communities. In a few words, we need to be concise, clear, and organized to develop with a plan.
We must have a master interpretive plan which addresses the entire institution, proposing an overall strategy for visitor experiences, providing guidance for programs, activities, and exhibitions. There's also project interpretive planning, which is narrow in breadth and specific detail, and also the most common type of planning done in museums. Some planning teams' considerations might include providing thorough and accurate record of planning effort, sometimes involving the public, and delivering a quality plan that is useful to the institution.
Integrating visitor perspectives into interpretive planning is another important part to interpretive plan creation. Visitor-centered perspective from the beginning is required with integration of visitor perspectives throughout planning and decision-making.
I would so love to involve the community in creating our plan. That's the whole point in us opening our museum, to get attention from the masses.
In Chapter 4, I read about visitor perspectives and outcomes. Points of view among museum visitors representing a broad array of demographic, social, and psychographic characteristics are addressed. And here is the outcomes hierarchy.
Next comes developing outcomes and impacts. The clearest format to formulate intended outcomes and impacts is the ABC method. A stands for antecedent, which is the learning activity. B stands for behavior being demonstrated. C stands for criterion or degree of acceptable performance.
Another method is the SMART method, which requires indicators and deadlines be included and specific. The letters stand for specific, measurable, achievable, result-oriented, and time-specific.
When we're ready to write our museum plan, we can refer to this book for examples of broad or vague verbs, action verbs, and tables 4.1, 2, 3, and 4 on page 67, which list learner behavior and action verbs.
Chapter 5 talks about integrating visitor perspectives in master interpretive planning. It addresses strategic institutional visioning for visitor experiences and engagement and articulates the organization's role in the community. There's no right size nor perfect recipe plan. All are unique.
Next, they talk about the situation and need for the plan, or why it's important, and what is our situation. We might include a description of our organization with location and size, a brief background history, a description of what makes the institution and collection unique, and a carefully written description of the need for the plan and rationale that supports the need.
Purpose and goals are what we hope to accomplish by planning follows the need for the plan. Goals and objectives are written from the institution's perspective. More specific sub-goals or objectives are unique to what we hope to accomplish. An example of an overall goal is to organize and establish a strategic and proactive program of interpretive exhibits and programs for visitor experiences with our institution.
Hey Sal, like one of your objectives might define your desired visitor experiences in shock value, like my hair. Since your artists are so surreal. After they talk about inventorying supply, questions to be answered could be, what do we have? What do we know? How is this collection unique? Are there existing documents to complement our plan? What's our existing staff? What current exhibits are we spending money on? I really like money, Sal. As well as what are our library and budget or funding resources?
When inventorying demand, they recommend using the outcomes hierarchy in Figure 4.1 that we already talked about. This will help us match the needs of our community with the assets and capabilities of our museum.
Next, analysis with the following questions to analyze supply that has been inventoried. How is the museum unique or special? How might museum staffing, funding, and resources affect future exhibits and activities? What might we do to enhance the monitoring of visitor experiences here?
After which we analyze demand. Questions might be, has visitation increased over time relating to future exhibits and programs changing by day, time, age, race, and how to plan? Were expectations met? Why aren't they coming? And new ideas for outcome.
Themes and visitor experiences follow the analyzation process. Themes, not topics, complete the sentence conveying a cohesive content idea.
Like surrealism is the predominant artistic style integrated into my masterpieces. My vision for visitors' experience statement will tell of the expected relationship between our museum and the visitors.
Recommendations for key initiatives might include exhibitions, educational programs, interpretive activities, signs, brochures, gallery guides, website material, webcams, and all that stuff. These should derive directly from the inventory and analysis, background of our organization, what exhibits and programs are relevant for our audiences, what alternatives exist, requirements of staff and resource change, collaboration between departments would be useful, and what partnerships would be beneficial for stimulating community engagement. All those must be considered in deciding what to recommend.
Chapter 5 ends with implementation guidelines. It summarizes what resources are needed to implement the final plan recommendations. Funding, staffing, resources, time, and sequencing, and approvals required should be addressed in the questions to be answered.
Chapter 6, it talks about integrating visitor perspectives in project interpretive planning. This is similar in concept, but different in scale to master interpretive planning. Here's Figure 6.1, context for exhibit or project planning from the book. Next, we have Figure 6.2, activity phases of the exhibition development process to add to the plan.
My brain is churning with ideas, Andy. The need could be the result of a grant or a special opportunity. This part of the plan should include the background of the project or documentation supporting the need for the project.
Goals are statements of intention which further define the purpose of the project. We need a purpose, Sal. An example of our goal for a new exhibit might be to increase partnerships with schools for curriculum-based field trips as well as family attendance. You know, Sal, people of all ages need to learn about surrealism and pop art. So I vote that we include reaching out to schools in our goal setting.
Now we inventory with a review of what our museum has or knows related to the project, what part of our collection will we use or need from other institutions, where will the exhibit be, and current staff, budget, and resources.
Next in the analysis, we answer, how does the information gathered shape ideas for the project? Do we have what we need? What's indicated by the data and information gathered? And will it show whether proposed ideas and outcomes are aligned?
In themes and visitor experiences, the theme development is best after the inventory analysis, taking into account the supply and demand. This is figure 6.4 in the book, which is a concept map to give an example of what visitors would experience if they moved through the 5 zones of exhibition and spaces content.
I want to use a map like this when planning my pop art exhibit to add some wow to the progression of my artworks from conception to present day popular cultural relevance. Not that my artworks need much zing to grab attention and make them pop. Get it?
Ooh, yeah.
Now the planning team can make recommendations. These might consist of delivery options of content and experiences. Is video most effective? Or do visitors engage with the material? As well as, could participants learn through discovery?
Development of content follows with which ideas are best as interactives or on a website, when is a photo needed for better communication, etc. The authors thought it was important to add that formative evaluation is typical for testing prototypes early on.
Implementation guidelines or crafting the conclusion of the plan wraps this up. Here's figure 6.9 in the book as a sample implementation guideline tablet, which gives us a visual picture to use as an example for this.
Chapter 7 revisits issues, outcomes, impact, public value, and 21st century planning.
I love this cartoon because I started out feeling overwhelmed and alone in our endeavor to open our own museum. But now, after reading this book and cartoon, I can see that we need a master interpretive plan and a team of people planning our success. A team kind of like the Pop Art Factory, but with a plan. Hey Sal, I think our architectural plan for our museum should look like this. Check it out. Isn't that a beautiful museum?
It's cool, but I like the form and the beautiful, spectacular, sensual form of the egg. That's why I use it in so many of my artworks, Andy. I think the museum should be in this shape.
What if we compromise, man? Let's put this right here.
I like it. Magnifique.
It's cool.
Yay. After careful planning, we agreed that it should look like this. I see great things in our future, Andy.
It's totally awesome, man.
Careful planning, Andy, and interpretive planning for museums. That's the key.
Cool.